We want to not do that, right?
Yeah.
Do I just exit out?
Total rule of distance.
Yes, yes.
Robot has improved your meetings.
Chair Williams, it is 10 o'clock and we do have a quorum. And I'll try to let you know when Supervisor Vasquez joins.
Great, thank you, Rhonda. Good morning, everybody. I'd like to call our meeting into order for Wednesday, March 27th, Board of Directors for Mountain Line. Before we get underway, just to remind those present today that the Board of Directors may vote to hold an executive session for the purpose of obtaining legal advice from Mountain Line's attorney on any matter listed on the agenda pursuant to the Arizona Revised Statute 38-431.03A3. The executive session may be held at any time during the meeting, and executive sessions are not open to the public pursuant to Arizona open meeting laws. Rhonda, if you would please do roll call today.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the board. City of Flagstaff, Lori Matthews.
Me? Here?
Coconino County, Geronimo Vasquez, is expected. Hopefully will be with us shortly. City of Flagstaff, Miranda Sweet.
Here.
Thank you. NAU, Josh Mayer.
Here.
Thank you. CCC, Tony Williams.
Present.
Thank you. We also have our attorney, Scott Holcomb, on the line.
Good morning.
Morning, Scott.
Morning. And we have members of the Mountain Line staff here in the Vera room and on Zoom. Thank you. I'll turn it back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Rhonda. Before we move on to the safety minute, just a couple of things for today. One, I understand that we have time-sensitive needs, so I'm gonna try to hold us to a speedy review of what we have to cover today in order to get everything in time-wise. An adjustment to the agenda under discussion and action items. We're just moving a few things around. Moving item number 12, the electric bus performance report, to be number 10 on our agenda. And then the Linda Vista property lot modification update would follow. And then the biennial performance report would follow at the very end. And that would be the modification in order of our discussion today. With that being said, I'd ask for Sam to present the safety minute today.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the board. March's Safety Minute is on Poison Prevention Month. So in 1961, Congress established the National Poison Prevention Week to raise awareness, reduce unintentional poisonings, and promote poison prevention. More than 90% of the time, poisonings happen in people's homes. The majority of these poisonings occur in the kitchen, bathroom, or bedroom. Please follow these simple steps to prevent poisoning from happening at home. So they have numerous topics and numerous tips under each topic, so I'm only going to read a few of them. The first topic is medication. Keep all medicines and potentially poisonous substances in locked cabinets or out of the reach of children. Keep medications in their original containers, properly labeled, and store them appropriately. Also, properly dispose of them when the expiration date has been reached. Never share prescription medication. If you're taking more than one drug at a time, check with your healthcare provider, pharmacist, or call toll-free poison helpline. Under household products, keep all household cleaners and potentially poisonous substances in locked cabinets or again out of the reach of children. Chemicals. Keep all chemicals and potentially poisonous substances again locked in a cabinet or out of the reach of children. Also keep antifreeze and all chemicals and household products in their original containers. For food, make sure you wash fruits and vegetables with running warm water. Please follow these steps to reduce the risk of yourself or someone you love for being poisoned. Thank you and welcome to the March Mountain Lion Board meeting.
Thank you, Sam. Jackie, I think you'll be covering milestone anniversaries today.
I will, thank you, yes. Okay, I'll try and make these go quick. So first, we are going to celebrate Busy Collins, who's here in the room with us. I'm not Busy to stand up. I won't make you stand up the whole time, but just for a minute so that the cameras get you. We learned this the last time, so make a little, hi, okay. And you will hear from her later in the meeting, and you all know what she looks like, but, okay. And this is from her supervisor, Josh. Busy celebrating her 5th anniversary with Mountain Line. She came to us from Colorado with a prior history of transit planning and oversight experience. This deep bench of knowledge was valuable as Busy led the successful assessment of needs and completion of our community transit plan, Flagstaff in Motion. Busy then stepped into the role of, I have such a hard time, strategic performance planner, and has developed reliable reporting metrics to gauge health and stability in all areas of Mountain Line's operations. Most recently, Busy led the collection of a multitude of resources for the comprehensive submittal of our triennial review to the Federal Transit Administration. Busy's project management commitment to collaboration and positive engagement of stakeholders ensures success in each project she undertakes. We are proud to have Busy's leadership skills at work here at Mountain Line and grateful for her daily contribution to our success. Congratulations, Busy. And next we have a big one, and Bernice is not in the room with us, so I will not ask her to stand up. But Bernice is celebrating 25 years with Mountain Line. What a huge accomplishment. Bernice has served in an assortment of roles over the years, providing excellent care for our paratransit riders as a driver, ensuring rides were booked accurately as our dispatcher, supporting our drivers and team as an operations supervisor and operations coordinator, and now assisting staff and leadership as our assistant operations manager. Bernice is a true professional who approaches her job with a great amount of care and respect. She is diligent in ensuring staff have regular and constant communication and support. So thank you, Bernice, for 25 years. You've been a mentor and trainer to so many, and we are grateful to still have your leadership on our team. All right, and then Phil Parrish, one of our drivers, has reached the 1-year milestone. Phil is one of our part-time staff members while he works on completing a degree at the Indian Bible School. Phil is energetic and enthusiastic about his job, and we are glad to have him on the team. Congratulations, Phil. And then, Tony, if you don't mind, while we're on milestone anniversaries, although this is not an anniversary, I do have just a couple of quick announcements that are staff related. As we all know, Jim Wagner has announced his retirement. And I did send out an invitation to celebrate his retirement that should have included all of you for an event at Grand Canyon Brewery on April 18th, I believe. So we hope to see you all there. Please RSVP to Rhonda. And then lastly, one of our operations supervisors named Nick Johnson participated in what is called a bus rodeo. It's not like a cowboy rodeo, it's an ROADEO, down in Tucson a couple of weekends ago. Heather was actually down there with him. The Tucson Transit System, their private provider, puts us on. It's something that was done a lot pre-COVID. It's a skills test for drivers of various sizes of vehicles. And we are so proud to announce that Nick came home with first place in the 35-foot bus division. I'm gonna ask Dave to hold up the amazing, Dave is his supervisor. So this is the awesome, I don't know, what do we call this? Trophy that Nick received for being the first place winner in the 35-foot section. I do have to say that Nick, it was a kind of a surprise to him that he was going to be competing in this, and so he really crammed, as you know, any good student would do, and got up to speed and won the competition for that size of bus. So it was a huge accomplishment, and we're really proud of him.
1 year and 5 months he's been with us.
1 year and 5 months. So, and unfortunately, he could not be here today, so Dave is showing enough on his behalf. All right, thank you, Chair. I'll send it back to you.
Becky, those are great updates, wonderful milestones.
I'm so sorry. I apologize. We have one more retirement. I apologize for that. All right. So in addition to Jim, who we did celebrate last time, Grace Charlie has also retired. It does say 15 years on there. If you total up all of Grace's time here, it's much more than 15 years. I think it's approaching 30. She did leave for a period of time, so we don't do consecutive. But she's retiring after, let's say, nearly 30 years driving for our paratransit program. She outlasted several versions of paratransit, from SNTS, which was Special Needs Transportation Services as part of Pine Country Transit. Thank goodness that got a rename. To Van Gogh, which we rebranded when we launched Mountain Line to Mountain Lift, and now Mountain Line Paratransit. Grace has been at the heart and soul of what we do, with riders and families regularly asking for Grace's van when booking their rides. Grace has been a true professional and offered our riders a tremendous amount of care, respect, and dignity with every ride provided. Grace has been a dependable part of the team and is going to be dearly missed by all. We are excited to celebrate her retirement. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie, and congratulations to everybody.
Now I'm done.
Moving along on our agenda today, a call to the public. Rhonda, do we have any members of the public present today?
We do not, and we did not receive any email comments either.
All right, thank you very much. Then we will move along. Approval of the February 21st, 2024 minutes. I would motion approval to accept the minutes.
Move to approve.
Is that board member Mayor?
I'll second. Board Member Matthews.
Thank you, board member Matthews. Any discussion? All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And since I was not able to be at that meeting, I will abstain from voting today on that item. We're moving along speedily this morning, which is really good. Consent agenda. I would cater a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented, as written.
I'll second.
Got a first and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Excuse me, Chair.
Yes.
Vice Chair Vasquez is coming into the meeting now. And may I just clarify that that was Director Sweet that seconded the
It
consent
was.
agenda? Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Geronimo, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you. Sorry about that. I was
Problem.
just trying to chat to say I've joined.
Glad to have you here.
All right. Thank you.
All right, we're moving along into our discussion and action items for today. The first item of business is item number 8, the fiscal year 2025 operating budget. And Josh Stone will present on this.
All right, thank you, Chair Williams. Good morning, everyone. So this is the second in a series of budget reviews for the fiscal year 2025 budget that we will seek approval of in June. Next slide, please. So we're looking to increase Mountain Lion's entire operating budget by $1.1 million over the fiscal year 2024 total, which is about a 10% increase for fiscal year 2025. As this almost $13 million is the entire operating budget. This does include the workforce investment budget items previously presented in February at the February Board of Directors meeting. So as that's a subset of the entire operating budget, we're gonna remove the $8 million that takes up the workforce part, and we're not going to discuss that today. So we're left with the expenditures we're discussing today. Next slide, please. So this chart is a comparison of fiscal year 2024 to 2025. The blue you can see is the salaries and benefits workforce changes previously covered. Today we're covering the orange section, which is those categories that are seeing an increase. These are all items that have been steadily increasing each of the last several years. They also tend to be categories that sometimes we can make an attempt at finding the best value in purchasing, but ultimately are often subject to market conditions that we don't have very much control over. as I've been following some of the budget discussions of other organizations around town, I think most of these increasing expense items will be familiar to some of you if you've participated in any of those meetings. So our insurance, which includes vehicle and general liability insurance, is anticipated to be about a 21% increase. We do look at the market each year and work with our broker to see what options are available to us to reduce costs. However, there are limited options in the public agency insurance market, and those options sort of even further narrow in the public transit space. So that's depending on the city and agency, claims can run high for some transit operators. We're fortunate that we don't have a significant issue with claims. But those operators those agencies that do kind of tend to dictate the premiums for the entire market. So moving down to fuel costs. I believe increasing fuel prices have largely leveled off. This particular budget increase of about 25% is more of a right sizing, I would say, as the fiscal year 2024 budget was developed like very far in advance and didn't really fully take into account fuel market increases that occurred more last year. So this is kind of just correction on that end. Moving down to parts and supplies. Parts and supplies, of course, are necessary to keep the vehicles in a state of good repair so we can continue our service. Vehicle parts are an area of the economy that has seen a particularly acute inflation, especially in some cases where there's really only like one source, maybe two for a specific bus component. A small amount of this increase we can also attribute to the overall general age of our vehicle fleet and some more intensive maintenance needs, sort of as the mileage goes up over time in the fleet. And the last major contributing item contributing to our budget increase is the facilities expenses at about a 40% increase. We contract out janitorial services, and our contract includes required labor increases due to the city's increased minimum wage. So those contracts have been increased. And then facility supplies are similar to vehicle parts and supplies, just a general overall inflation. We have included some allowance for utility rates, either proposed or underway. Like the city of Flagstaff will have some wastewater increases, perhaps. APS has electricity increases. So, and then the rest of the operating budget outside of these categories and the salaries and benefits is basically staying flat at about $1.7 million. Those are the other categories. That's staying roughly the same. Next slide, please. I have a few items to note. So we've had service moving along this year with our two all-electric buses on the road. These new buses, of course, have traded the cost of electric charging instead of purchasing diesel fuel. We're still assessing the operating data as that is gathered, and I think you'll hear a presentation about that. And those type of expenses from Busy later. So $70,000 was budgeted in 2024, and we're not changing that for 2025. We're tracking roughly along with that, and we don't really see a significant change for that. So then Vanpool, we have increased the contracted budget to allow for additional vehicles that have started operating. This is we do receive federal support for this program, and so the local funding for this is from Coconino County, not the city of Flagstaff. The fiscal 2025 plan is really just to reallocate the county funds that we get within the county programs. So there's no real increase to the county for that. And then towards the spring of 2025, our downtown connection center is scheduled to open. So we have projected some small amount of operating expenses for this occupancy period. So that's my very brief summary of what we have for you on day-to-day operating budget for fiscal year 2025. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have about the budget.
Josh, thank you very much. This is not an action item today. This is just information, maybe guidance from the board type of topic. I don't have any comments, but other members of the may.
This is Councilmember Matthews. I do have 2 questions.
Go ahead.
We couldn't find how to raise our hand on the computer, so I apologize. Josh, can we get a copy of the actual projected budget, not just summary? If you could email that out, that would be great. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, we usually do share that roughly around May, because that's when everything's finalized.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Director Matthews. Any other board members have questions for Josh? Right, hearing none, Josh, I think we're good to go. Thank you very much for your presentation today.
Thank you.
So for Board Member Vasquez's benefit, just to remind everybody, this is in the point in our agenda where we moved a few things around. The electric bus performance report, which was number 12, will now be number 10. Linda Vista will move to number 11, and then the biennial performance moves to 12. Is that the right order, Jackie? I'm sure.
We are going to do the final performance report and then the Linda Vista modification. Mostly is already up there, so if she can stay up there. And those are the two last ones are the ones that we would be prepared to table. Our plan is to go into executive session at 11:15 to leave us time for our members to get off at 11:30 to attend the luncheon.
Great. Thank you for that clarification. So we'll go start with the electric bus performance report. Wait a second. No, we're on the amended Mountain Lion safety plan right now, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, my apologies. I jumped ahead. So Sam, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. So staff is recommending that the board of directors approve our amended Mountain Lion Public Transportation Agency safety plan, or the safety plan as we commonly refer to it. A little background or history on our safety plan. In 2018, the Federal Transit Administration notified all transit agencies that they wanted all transit agencies to adopt a common or standardized safety plan. Prior to that, for several years, they had hinted they would be asking for this, so we were somewhat ready when they did ask for it. In 2021, the safety plan was drafted and the safety plan was supposed to be approved and adopted by our board by July of 2021 after numerous changes. We, however, adopted our safety plan in November of 2020. So some of the components of our safety plan, the Mountain Lion safety plan establishes who is responsible for safety within the organization. It also defines staff roles and responsibilities as it relates to safety. So for example, one of the key things that FTA asked for was to make sure that everyone understood their roles, especially because the safety plan is supposed to be a top-down safety plan, which means from the general manager all the way to the person that was just hired off the street yesterday. So one of the roles that the GM would have, for example, would be to make sure that we have the staff and the funding to do everything we need to provide safety for our agency. So the safety assurance section of the safety plan outlines how we evaluate our policies and procedures and gives us tools to evaluate risk. So for example, this is our risk assessment matrix, and this is how we would evaluate certain risks. So say, for example, we are notified of a risk through one of the many means that we give our employees to notify us of safety hazards. So say, for example, I'll use a recent one that we had. A latch on a door had sharp edges. So first we would assign that risk a probability number. Is it improbable that something will ever happen with this latch? Is it remotely possible? Would it happen occasionally? And then you would assign it a probability number. Then you would go over to the hazard severity section and assign it a hazard severity category. So if it did occur and somebody was injured by this sharp latch on this door, what would be the consequences of that injury? So we assigned that risk an occasional probability, and the hazard severity was a minor or a 4C. So you can see if you line up occasional with minor, this is where our risk ends up. So that would determine how much staff, time, and resources we would commit to handling or mitigating that risk. So some of the things that we've added, or not some of them, but all of the things that we've added to our safety plan this year was one more avenue for employees to report safety issues, which is another email address that they can send safety risks to. We've also added into the safety plan that we need to adopt policies and procedures specifically related to the battery electric buses. Also, that training for all staff needs to be done specifically related to battery electric buses. So these three things were the only three things that we added to our safety plan this year. But if we add anything or delete anything, it needs to be board approved. So again, staff recommends that the board of directors approve the amended Mountain Line Public Transportation Agency safety plan as required by the Federal Transit Administration. And I'd be happy to take any questions.
Do we have any questions from board members? Sam, this looks really good. Thank you very much for this. I'd cater a motion to approve the recommendation to amend Mountain Line Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan as required by the Federal Transit Administration.
So moved.
Director Sweet,
Yes.
do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the board.
All right, moving on to what I talked about just a few moments ago before we started with the amended safety plan. We will begin our adjustment in our agenda today to move to item number 12 for the electric bus performance report, and Busy Collins will lead us in that subject. Busy.
Thank you, Chair Williams, Board of Directors. So I'm here to talk about bus performance of our electric buses and our hybrid buses. And definitely other topics related to electric buses are coming in future months. And I'll be talking at least on the next item that we'll be presenting to the board on the last slide. So really I'm focusing today on the performance. So here's where we're at today. We have 2 electric buses in service. The first one, our Gillig, went into service April 2023. We had that big party. It's coming up on 1-year anniversary. And I want to note that the battery capacity of this Gillig is larger, and this comes into play as we look at the data, performance data. The second electric bus, it's a New Flyer, came into service September 2023. It has a smaller battery capacity, that 340 kilowatt hours. And then we are currently charging our electric buses with a 50 kilowatt Heliox mobile charger here at headquarters. And then just to note, throughout the presentation, I'll refer to the two electric buses as Gillig or New Flyer. And I'd be happy to switch back here if you are curious about the details of these buses. So staff are tracking a ton of data. What I'm presenting here, these 6 metrics, is just a subset. This is recommended by our peers and also just industry standard metrics of comparison. But I'm happy to add anything else that you're interested in. So if you have another data point, maybe I have it right here. You want to know if I should work it into other KPIs that we present every 6 months to the board. That is our plan. Please let me know. Okay, so first KPI, key performance indicator, is efficiency per mile. So lower is better on this graph. You'll notice electric buses are in blue. We have the New Flyer, smaller battery size in the dark blue, Gillig, larger battery size in the light blue. And then we have our hybrid buses. That is the average of 28 hybrid buses, their performance. And you can see the orange is on a different scale. It's gallons per mile. And the electric buses are on kilowatt hours per mile. So this is not apples to apples. We recognize this, but this is an industry standard of comparison. So just wanted to present what we do have available, what seems to make sense. If it doesn't make sense to you, I'd love to hear that. So we are seeing, again, so lower is better. Our New Flyer, smaller battery capacity is performing more efficiently than the larger battery capacity. It's likely just due to more weight that it's carrying around. Batteries are quite heavy. But in the middle is our hybrid buses. They're doing quite well. And you can see the scale, the range here is so small. So where it looks like, oh man, New Flyer is crushing it, that maybe, the scale, they're pretty compressed here. They're all doing quite well, I'd say, efficiency wise. And I also want to say that we are not only comparing electric versus hybrid, we're also really comparing battery sizes and manufacturers of the electric buses. And then eventually we'll also compare chargers. So we're comparing everything. It's all on the table. Just want to be very transparent in how everything is performing. A couple peers. So San Joaquin Regional Transit in Stockton, California, they are doing quite a bit better than us at 1.19 kilowatt hours per mile. Here's another California agency and a peer agency that we use quite often, Missoula, Montana, the Mountain Line Transit Agency there. And they're doing a similar approach to us, where they are using all bus manufacturers available for electric buses and really testing them against each other. Proterra is doing the worst for efficiency. Their other New Flyer and Gillig is performing about the same as ours. But I just wanted to put something out there for comparison. And efficiency by temperature. So this is similar to the graph we saw here. This is just the electric buses in blue. And then the green line is temperature. So as temperatures decrease, we typically see electric bus range decrease. So electric buses perform the best in ideal weather conditions, because then they can use the most of their stored energy for propulsion, which in turn maximizes bus range. So typically we would expect cold weather to reduce our range and our efficiency, because more of the battery power is going to maintain cabin temperature and battery temperature. However, you can see that there's not a downward trend. So this is September through December, just 4 months of data. So very data light, I'd say, to see very big trends. But overall, we're not seeing the decreased efficiency of our electric buses as the temperature decreases. And just in literature that we found, it's likely due to storing our buses inside and keeping the batteries and the interior of the bus at an ideal temperature. It starts that way, it's easier to maintain, less draw on the battery. Please interrupt me if you have questions. I'm just going to go through these slides. The next KPI, key performance indicator, is gallons of diesel avoided. This is average per bus type. So now we're grouping both of the electric buses into that blue line and all 28 hybrid electric buses into the orange line. And so you can see, our hybrid electric buses have a better mile per gallon gas efficiency than the regular diesel buses, about 0.7 miles per gallon better, but that really adds up. And so you can see that the diesel gallons avoided with our hybrid fleet is already great, about 150 gallons per month avoided per bus, per hybrid bus. And our electric buses is definitely higher than that. This, let's see. So this is using electricity, and we're comparing again that typical diesel bus to the electric buses on gallons of diesel avoided. So the number of miles that the electric bus puts on, we just calculate what that anticipated gallons of diesel they might use. And here is total by bus type. So we have the electric buses, on average in a month, about 700 to 900 gallons of diesel avoided. Our hybrid buses, because there's so many of them, it's a larger impact in total. And I think do not have this. So yeah, really, we're doing great between both of our fleets on gallons of diesel avoided, which does translate into carbon dioxide emissions saved. So this graph looks pretty similar to the other graph. The hybrid bus has, you can see a little bit more fluctuation per month on number of emissions. This is tied exactly to number of miles. And again, we're saving carbon dioxide emissions with our hybrid fleet. We're saving a little bit more emissions with our electric fleet per bus. And here again is total. And to put that into reference, we're saving about 10 cars per month we're removing. That's the equivalent of emissions identified here. So overall in 4 months, 40 cars removed from the road in 1 year. Hopefully that's a good way to imagine how much carbon dioxide emissions that is. Kind of crazy. And then this is my final KPI, energy cost per mile. Again, lower is better. And you can see we have the electric buses separated out. So really, if you're averaging the New Flyer and the Gillig together, it's not a very big difference between them. That month in October, the Gillig had less miles, so there's just this fluctuation, especially with the zoomed in range. You know, it's not a very large range on the left side there. Yeah, so the New Flyer was out of service for much of the month, waiting on a part. So that just caused the metric to spike up, inflated abnormally so. And then I do have one peer comparison. Here's our Missoula Peer Transit Agency. And it's interesting, they have a completely different utility rate schedule. They have more electric buses than us. They're running 3 different types of electric buses, and yet their cost per mile is very similar to ours. So fun to see that. We don't have other peers available at this time for costs, but hope to, as we continue to find them, I'll include them and share. And then so next step, so staff do plan to come back to the board with a bus procurement recommendation. I think we're planning for that in the May advance meeting. And so, you know, here we're always doing fleet replacement. You know, every year a couple of buses should come online per the fleet replacement plan. That's just averaging it out. So really we're looking at like a couple of buses here, not the whole fleet, not the whole direction. And I'm just setting that up because we're, as I noted in the beginning, we have one very small charger to support all of our electric buses, this 50 kilowatt mobile Heliox charger. We do anticipate having a pantograph charger at 450 kilowatt charger coming online this fall. So we're really excited to see how that helps our buses along. But electric buses don't run without electricity. So just having limited charger capacity, especially not on route, is very challenging for our buses. And so we're evaluating all those decisions right now. But really just, if you have any questions about the performance data presented today, I'd be happy to answer those.
Izzy, thank you very much. I really appreciate the data that you've shared and how you put it together. I just have one curious question. Then I'll ask other members of the board if they have questions. And as I'm just curious to know, what is the time to recharge? Like, what is if the Gillig or the Flyer come in and they need to go through recharging, like how many hours does it take that to happen?
4 to 6 hours from Jeremiah, the expert. Yeah, so the smaller the kilowatt hours that we're charging at, the longer the time it takes. I bet maybe that's the point you're trying to make. So the larger the charger, that pantograph 450 kilowatt, it should be minutes, 15 minutes max. But we'll see.
Yeah, and in comparison to the data around the battery, the life of the battery during cold weather, have you been able to garner any data from Missoula to compare and contrast like what their experience has been over time? Because I know that they have longer periods of cold than we do. And I would be interested, considering the size of their fleet, that data could be helpful to us as we move forward.
Absolutely. Yes, thank you.
So other members of the board, other questions for Busy at this time?
Chair Williams, this is Councilmember Matthews. I have a question.
Please go ahead.
Busy, can you explain I don't quite understand the charger. I thought we plugged, like electric cars, we plug them into a special power plug in the wall. So can you just expand on that a little bit?
Absolutely. So we did have to upgrade the outlets, a couple outlets, where we want to plug this mobile charger into. So maybe you've heard about upgrades for the mobile charger to these outlets, and that was simply to support the higher wattage of the charger. And so, no, it's on wheels. It's what, 3 by 3? I've actually never looked at it.
It's like 2.5 by 2.5
2.5 by 2.5 by 3. 2.5 by 2.5 by 3 feet box, wheels around pretty easily on
Yep.
campus. And we can charge it in shop 1 and 3, 2
and 3.
and 3. Yes, so we can charge at 2 different locations within our facilities.
Great. And then could you go back a slide to the energy cost? Yeah. So how does that compare to cost of diesel per gallon? Like I see the
Yes.
cost of energy charge, but I don't see the comparison.
Thank you for that question. I did not explain this graph fully. So we do have our hybrid buses in orange, and that is using diesel gallons, the cost of diesel per mile. So we are comparing apples to apples here. And for the orange line, for our hybrids, it's diesel. For the blue lines, it's electricity. Thank you for that question.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
Other questions from members of the board? Busy, what are next steps moving forward?
So the next time staff will bring electric buses to the board is planned for at the May advance. And really we're looking at what are these next handful of buses that we're gonna purchase? Is it electric? Is it a hybrid? Basically staff's making a recommendation now based on what we're seeing in this performance data, and bringing that to the board in May.
Thank you, Busy. One last chance for other members of the board to ask Busy some questions. Hearing none, we will move on in our agenda. Thank you so much, Busy. Appreciate your presentation today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chair Williams.
So we're going to then move to the next item in our agenda, which will be the biennial performance report. And I think, Busy, this is you as well. So welcome back.
Thank you. All right, throwing some more charts at you and some tables and numbers. So this table should be very familiar to you. We brought this to you for many years now. So these are our various modes of service in the colored blocks, and then some performance metrics. So I'll be focusing on Q1 and 2 actual of FY '24, so that was July through December of last year. And notice that that is only 6 months, and I'm comparing that with 12 months from the FY '24 goal. So the outlined black boxes there are the numbers that I'm focusing on. And so whenever we see the total trips, you'll see about half. The performance looks terrible because we're comparing a full year to 6 months. But the rest of the metrics, the ratios, the cost per passenger per hour, et cetera, it's a more accurate comparison to see where we're at. So I find that more valuable than giving you a bunch of projected numbers for our actual. So you can see here, when I made the FY '24 goal, we were anticipating full service out on the roads. Really, ridership reflects the service that we offer. And so being in a reduced service level throughout August, starting in August and continuing through today, we are not going to meet that ridership goal of 2 million. We're, about at 1.6, maybe 1.7 million. We do continue to see an increase. So even though we're not at our full increase to, our full goal of 24, we still saw an 8% increase over FY '23 in that same July to December period. But this is still 65% of pre-COVID ridership. So we're still trying to meet back up to that COVID level ridership. And our costs per hour, costs per trip, actual are pretty inflated for the 3 services, the fixed route bus, demand response, paratransit, and microtransit that we provide with our operators, our fleet. And as you saw with Josh's presentation, there is some budget items that are inflated. So that is being reflected in our actual costs. We expected something early in 2024. It inflated quite a bit when it came to fruition in July and December of 2023 in our FY '24 year. So it's a little inflated. I'm gonna jump down to the 2 light blue boxes, demand response, paratransit and microtransit. So just a quick description, both paratransit and microtransit provide origin to destination service, hence the demand response label. They're only operating when trips are requested. And these services, microtransit and paratransit services, are commingled using the same vehicle and driver, and trips are grouped together as a shared ride for efficiency. However, paratransit is an eligibility-based program available for people with disabilities who do not have the functional ability to ride fixed route buses, either permanently or under certain conditions. And then microtransit service is only been in place for 2.5 years. It's open to the public and it only serves the Huntington Industrial Corridor. So pretty distinct there. The nice part is with commingled rides, we do see benefits on cost reduction, and specifically in the last year, we saw a reduction in our deadhead or non-revenue hours because of that commingled service. So it used to be a paratransit vehicle was driving around, it would stand down, park somewhere until that next trip was scheduled. Now we are filling those gaps with microtransit trips that are being scheduled on the fly. So that reduced our deadhead hours by 39%. So just increasing efficiency, increasing our ridership, and using the drivers and vehicles more efficiently, more often. Taxi programs, I'm going to jump to the burnt orange boxes. So we have our taxi program city and taxi program county. These taxi programs remain the prime choice for our paratransit eligible customers due to individualized service. So only those individuals who were approved for paratransit service can utilize this taxi program. It's same day, it's a lower cost to the individual. And we do subsidize the trip, each of those trips, and the local share comes from either city or county, depending on where that trip is provided. So you can see that even though, let's see, I have a couple stats in here. City trips are up 36% over FY '23, while county trips are about the same compared to last year. Again, taxi program option is always provided at a lower cost of Mountain Line than that of paratransit. So it's great to see our taxi program increasing. And I didn't cover it, but our paratransit trips are reducing year over year slightly. So that's It's interesting. It's definitely not the nationwide trend, I will say. We saw a 14% drop in paratransit trips over last year. And part of that could be due to the shift from paratransit to taxi service. So something that staff is still looking into. And the final service that we provide is van pool program. This mode just continues to increase. We went from 9 van pool groups to 11 van pool groups now. It's a great service for workers who live or work in nearby cities such as Williams, Winslow, and Holbrook, and connect to Flagstaff. Some employers are supporting the cost of these van pools in addition to the county subsidy of $400 per van per month. And van pool ridership had 50% growth over FY23, and it was never really impacted by COVID. It coasted through just because of the different ridership groups. It's 88% higher than pre-COVID FY19. So it's a great menu of services that Mountain Line provides. And now I'm going to go on to some other KPIs, key performance indicators. I'll just pause if you have any questions on this slide.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Please go ahead.
I have a question on the fixed route line there.
Yeah.
An understanding that, we're significantly improved, particularly from, that 21-22 year, which is of course an anomaly. And look at, we're probably 1.6, 1.7 million, still an improvement. But I was wondering if we've considered some of the factors, and maybe you can provide some insight into why we haven't fully recovered. I was wondering if it's possibly due to like labor shortage and having to reduce frequency on lines. Is there decreased demand overall, or is there ridership that's just not being captured?
Great question. Thank you for that. So absolutely right. Ridership responds to the service that we provide. So just say for Route 10 that serves NAU campus, for example, full service would be 5 buses, coming every 8 minutes, which is tremendous to the individual. And now we are currently at about 15 minutes, 13 minutes, frequency with 3 buses. So, 15 minutes is still excellent for the individual. It's not as great as 8 minutes. And we have seen, especially on NAU, that bigger or less frequent arrival of our buses, people might just walk. It takes about that same time waiting for the bus to just walk somewhere on campus. So Route 10 is pretty unique. And then on our other routes, so we have Route 2 and Route 4 that are in reduced service. So Route 2 is now at every 30 minutes instead of every 20 minutes. Again, thinking of that individual. So I think a lot of people are shifting. If they can find a different ride or maybe bike or walk, they're likely doing that because it takes about the same amount of time to wait for that bus to take that trip. So it's really, again, I'd say service, and then lack of service is really due to operator shortage, and making sure that there's quality of life and not safety hazards with additional hours for everyone. Yeah. Did that answer your question?
It did. Thanks for
Yes,
that.
absolutely.
And I can just briefly add that the plan, when we cut the service, several months ago to, as Busy mentioned, to, give our operators that break, the plan is to get back to as close to full service as possible for the start of the K through 12 school year this fall in August. So that is our plan.
Thanks.
Thank you. Great. Thank you.
Other questions from members of the board?
Chair Williams, I have a question. This is Councilmember Matthews.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. So just trying to digest this performance benchmarks. The passenger count per hour, that encompasses all 9 of our routes daily, correct?
Correct.
And then if we took out NAU riders, do you have a number on that?
So NAU is about 40% of our ridership. It's not a full half. So we could assume 12, 11, 10, maybe 10 passengers per hour is fair to say on our Q1 to 2 actual. So 10 to 23 might be NAU, Route 10.
So would I be correct in my math calculations that if I just took, let's say, the 27.72. I think I took the 23. That comes out to about, including NAU, that comes out to about a little over 2 riders per route per hour, correct?
Sorry, just per hour, not per route. So that's total, all of our routes combined and, service hours on those routes.
Can you say that again? Sorry.
Yeah, so I think where you were going, so we should have about 13 between the routes, so a little over 1 hour, 1 passenger per hour, for all of the service hours.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I guess hidden in that number is the fluctuation of how many buses we are putting on the road. Those are weekend hours where we have 10, I believe, vehicles in maximum service. Maybe 15, I apologize, but somewhere, you know, up to 20 buses in maximum service. So, I think in there is hidden like the fluctuation of what our service is looking like in that given time period. But yes.
Director Matthews for your question and Busy for your detailed response there. Any other questions? Busy, thank you very much for working us through this, and look forward to other updates on that.
Absolutely, yes. And so now I have a few more slides. So here I have 3 slides on peer agencies. I think this is great to see. I know that we're running short on time and I want to get some other topics in. I apologize, but so we've got some comparison to peer agencies. So we have our similar size agency, Missoula and Logan listed here. Those are small urban agencies. We have mid-size agencies, Normal and Lubbock, and then we have large urban agencies, Meridian and Tucson, and that's really for aspirational comparisons. Not quite our peer in population size, but we aspire to be. So here's some great comparisons. This is our bus mode. So Flagstaff does really well compared to small, mid, and large urban areas. And our boardings per capita, that bottom right chart, we're doing the best per person. So per capita, this is every person identified in the census in Flagstaff divided by our total boardings. And this is in FY22. That's the most recent data we have available for all of our peers. So we're coming out of COVID here, but really we're doing great in comparison. Here's our paratransit service mode. So this is for our people who are disabled, unable to ride the fixed route. So we don't necessarily want to have the highest ridership. So our boardings is quite low. Our boardings per capita is also quite low. So, reflecting in cost, we should also see our cost is about average per hour per passenger, passengers per hour as well. We on the lower side compared to our peers. And van pool, we only have one peer that operates a van pool service, that's Tucson, and we're doing better than Tucson. So pretty interesting comparison. I'll keep updating those as we continue to get data. FY23 should be very interesting, being kind of non-COVID related, kind of out of the grips of COVID. And then the last few slides are on the strategic plan, key performance indicators. So here's our scorecard. I'm going to be going through each of these. And so here we have on-time performance. Things in bold are on our scorecard, so you can see on-time performance and emissions for mountain line vehicles is bolded. Those are scorecard items. Green is that we met the goal. Red is that we did not meet the goal, so we're doing better with our on-time performance this year. We talked about emissions in the previous presentation. That is 180 tons reduced. Carbon dioxide emissions reduced this year alone, and more to come. A few more of our goals here. So employee engagement score, I did put an asterisk. So as Cody Weaver presented last month, we did make substantial changes to the survey, the employee survey this year. So it's not an apples to apples comparison. But we are confident that the changes that we made do set us up for success to have that apples to apples comparison in the future. So it looks like we went down this year. It's not really a down. It's about level, I'll say, if we computed it a little bit more apples to apples. So there's a lengthy description there, I apologize. I do want to point out preventable accidents, while it is increased, I would like to highlight the percentage of staff recognized with the safety award. We're really trying to be proactive, increase the encouragement and training for staff to be more safe. So we hope to see the preventable accidents specifically going down as our efforts increase on safety awards. And just FYI, the safety award combines 2 award categories. It's the 100 Club for staff rating behind the wheel evaluation. Operators did not know that they were being observed. So 28 operators became part of the 100 Club last year, July to December. And also the accident-free bonus safety award. We have 30 operators awarded that. Again, that's pretty straightforward, no accidents for that staff person between July to December. So overall, 40 operators were awarded a safety award out of 54 possible staff for that 70%. So really great. We hope to see it reflected in our preventable accidents. And last item is even though we're not reaching our FY24 goal of local funding for operations, 64% is very healthy in that resiliency range. So not too concerning with that KPI. And just a note, so these are KPIs that did not have any data to report, no new actuals. You can see they're all NAs, unavailable for July to December. So the items in pink need a full value year, like the boardings per capita. I'm not going to take half of the Flagstaff population divided by half of the year's boardings. And the items in blue are KPIs that staff are still working to set up tracking systems. So I think part of this effort was identifying what's important to us to track. And we still have a couple more items to wrap up to be able to track our progress. So with that, I accept any questions you might have.
Any additional questions from the board at this time? Hearing none, I'd like to thank you, Busy, for walking us through this. I know we're running low on time today due to other engagements this afternoon, so I appreciate your effort here. So thank you. Jackie, where are we at with our time? Do we need to table the other items?
I'm gonna ask Director Mayer about he is the two of the members who need to be at the lunch are already there. And so Ann's presentation is roughly about 5 minutes about our lot modification. Are you comfortable with doing that and then doing the executive session, or is your preference to go straight to the executive session?
Completely fine.
Okay, so I didn't put the pressure on you, sorry. So we will do the Linda Vista lot modification presentation.
Great.
Thank you.
So Ann, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Williams, members of the board. This is just an update. I'm just providing an update on the lot modification. Quick background, Mountain Line in 2017 purchased the 5 acres that you see on the exhibit. We call it the Linda Vista property. It's the orange and the green. That's the 5 acres. It was purchased with local dollars for the purpose of investigating for transit use. And then in 2022, as you're aware, we did a CASFAR master plan to outline maximizing bus storage and maintenance at this location. And during that process, we identified that we could not use the Linda Vista property for bus storage or maintenance. There wasn't the feasibility, technical feasibility, just wasn't financially a viable option. So with that, we proceeded to develop our CASFAR master plan. And as you're aware, we're actually pursuing a maintenance project on the blue parcel. And we're undergoing that now. But as part of the future of this property, we are pursuing a lot modification that you can see here. The orange parcel and the green parcel, we are going to remove the green parcel and combine it with the yellow parcel because we need those tree resources to help us achieve our long-term master plan. And then that magenta parcel will be combined with the orange parcel, and we will have one new, slightly larger parcel. And that is done because really that access out to Caspar is something that would make that a more viable property for development for, it is zoned high density residential. And so Mountain Line is pursuing right now just the administrative process of the lot modification. But really, as was shared with prior board meetings, the Mountain Line is going to work and look at opportunities for either disposal of this property and or future partnership opportunities. But really, all today, I'm giving you a kind of an update that we are looking to do that lot modification. And then there would be a federal value investment that we're working with FTA on right now for the value of that property, and we're kind of working through that as well. So with that, are there any questions about the lot modification or?
Thank you, Ann. Directors, any questions for Ann?
Yes, I have a question.
Geronimo, please.
Thank you. Just as far as the lot modification and this process, what's the timeline? Like, what time frame are we looking at? Are we looking at something happening next couple months, the next 6 months, or the next year?
Thank you for that question. And I do apologize. There is some more detail in the staff report in terms of how this lot modification process actually needs to play out relative to our maintenance project, which is pursuing a conditional use permit in order to construct that facility. The lot modification process is about 2 months. And so I anticipate getting the documents from my team to submit for the application to the city. It's kind of a city looks at it first, then it goes to the county, because technically the county does the lot modification. So it's about a 2-month process, and that will play out roughly April, May. I would anticipate getting the lot mod completed by June, and that would then allow us to continue with our conditional use permit, which we're trying to get ourselves set up for that June, July timeline.
Great, thank you. Really appreciate that. That puts it in context and shows kind of how we're progressing with that project. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ann. Just a follow-up to that, anticipating another update to the board with that timeline kind of in mind later this summer.
Yes, Chair Williams, yes, I believe working with Heather leadership on the next steps with the property would be able to have potentially a recommendation.
Thank you very much. Directors, any additional questions for Ann at this time? Hearing none, we'll move forward. Thank you so much, Ann.
Thank
you. Jackie, any progress reports that you want to share today?
I don't believe so. I think that all of the current events that Heather would normally present are in your packet. So I won't take up our time with doing that today. Thank you, though.
Thank you. With that being said, I believe this is where in our agenda we will be going into executive session. I would welcome a motion to enter into executive session.
So moved.
Vice Chair Vasquez has moved to put us into executive session. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Is that Director Sweet seconds?
It was, yeah. Thank you.
Right. All those in favor signal by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. We will move into executive session.
Thank you.
Yes.
What? I think that's fine, yeah. Give us just a minute while we finalize the details here. But John has to.
Do we have everybody back, Rhonda?
It looks like you do, yes. Well, not, Vice Chair Vasquez yet.
Okay.
Well,
Looks like he's on.
I'm
okay.
here.
He's here.
So why don't we just close this out, right? There. And I have to share the screen, right?
Yeah.
Of our new,
It'll replace that.
yes. Good, we're not needed, so we're good. Okay, we are ready.
We're ready to proceed.
Yes.
Okay, we are at the end of our meeting today. Our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, March 17th at 10 a.m. Recognizing that we have several folks that need to get to another activity, I will go ahead and recognize that we've got a board meeting. This information that's on the screen right now is in our packets. Is that right, Rhonda?
Correct.
I wanting to be sensitive to people's time, so I would cater a motion to adjourn for the day.
Move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor, signify by aye.
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 Any opposed? Very good. Our meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Everybody have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.